Hello, everybody, to another episode of TTC webinar. And right now, we are doing a series on AWS with our teacher, Jyoti Mishra. And today is the third session where she's going to talk about identify and access management, that is IAM. So, without any further delay, over to you, Jyoti.
Okay. Okay, guys. So I see some of new folks today in this session. So for their interest, I'll recap what we have done in part one and part two, as we had decided that we'll always do a recap and then the current topic. And if time permits, we'll go for a recap of the next topic, which is we are going to have on next Saturday. Just a second, let me just stop sharing my video. Okay. Yeah. So in the first two sessions, what we have learned till now. So first session we learned like, okay, why we are moving towards cloud computing. Okay. And then we understood, we picked one of the cloud platform, which is AWS, which is our series. And then we talked about what are the core principles of AWS framework, like what are the things one need to keep in mind while choosing certain services in AWS. And also we talked about a mind shift which we have to do going forward when we are using AWS, which is now we have to talk in terms of services, not a server. Okay. And then in second session, we talked about AWS Management Console. So that's a web interface by which you can access various services of AWS. And also we did a little bit overview on IAM, which is identity and access management. It is similar to a normal web application concept wherein you have created certain thing in your application and you want to bifurcate who can access and what. So let's move to our part three. So here we'll talk in depth about IAM services, and I'll try to go slow, though my initial plan was to cover everything in this session, but while preparing I realized that there are a lot of things one has to cover in this topic. So I'll see if we can break it to further subtopics going forward. Okay. And also, as we had discussed that before any session, I'll let you know like which services are free and for which you are going to be charged. So the IAM service, which is a global service of AWS, for that you don't get charged. It's a free service. When will you charge? When will you get charged via IAM? When you go ahead and create any resources. Okay. At that time you will be charged. Otherwise, if you will create any users, policies, group, you won't be charged for it. Okay. So yeah, here is the agenda. So in identity and access management, we'll understand what exactly we mean by identity and what do we mean by access. Okay, so you all know access is like a permission. So we'll see how we can give those permissions in AWS. Okay, and here we have to give permission for two things. One is for the users, like human user. Okay, if I have to log in to AWS, I need to have certain user. And second, there are so many services in AWS. For example, you have an EC2 instance, you have got S3. So in order for EC2 to access S3, even there you have to give the permissions. Okay. Then we'll talk about IAM infrastructure element, which is like basically what are the key terms when we talk about IAM, like what do we mean by request, what do we mean by authentication, what is principal, what do we mean by action. So these are very basic terms. They are like self-explanatory, but we'll have an overview of it. Then we'll talk about various policies. So in you want to give certain access, for that there are certain policies which you need to create. Now the policies are also of three type. One is like one which AWS gives you. Okay, there are some managed policies which is provided by AWS itself, which you cannot change. Okay, then there are some custom policies which a user can create. So in that case, what can you do? You can just copy the template of already existing managed policy, and then you can add your further policies or accesses or permissions which you want. And then we'll briefly talk about evaluation logic of policy. Like we have a concept of explicit deny, implicit allow, Okay, so as you remember in our first session when we were talking about the pillars of AWS, I said that you have to ensure that if you are not aware of the user, you have to give the user a least privilege. Okay, so whenever you create a IAM user, the default privileges which is given to the user is explicit denied, which means that you're not allowed to access anything. The root user has to give certain permission to that IAM user. Okay, and then we'll go over one demo which is like a cross account access. So in your organization, for example, you have created different account for your development, for a production. So for example, from a development environment, there's this application which is running in a development environment, and from there you want to connect to a production DB, or so you want to access certain images which has been stored in production in S3. So how can you access those details from your dev environment? Okay. There's one more thing in policies which we'll talk about, which is like inline policies. So this is like a very interesting policy. Though AWS recommends you not to go for inline policy, they recommend you should go for their policy, which is managed policy, which has been created by them. Okay. So let's get started. Yeah. So these are the identities which we have in AWS. So you have users. So what do we mean by user? User is an IAM user is an entity in IAM that should map to an actual user. So for example, if I go ahead and create account for Dheeraj Mahiti, so they are my users. Okay. Then group. Okay, so now for example, why do we need a identity type of a group? So for example, this is the webinar which is happening for TTC, and I want to give each one of you access to certain things. So I can do it in two ways. Either I can go to each user, I can go to Dheeraj's account and give him certain permissions. Similarly for Mahati, Manoj, Izaz, Vinod. Okay, or I can create a group which can say, okay, AWS series attendee, and then there I can give certain permissions and policies, and then what I have to do for all 5-6 users in this session, I can associate that group. So whatever accesses I have to give in the future, now I don't have to go to the user level. I'll just associate those policies or permissions at the group level. Okay. Third identity is your role identity. Okay, so this is something like an IAM role is intended to be assumed by someone or something. So this is something which you don't associate with a user or a group. It's something, the example which I was giving you, for example, an EC2 instance wants to access an S3. Okay, so that time the EC2 and EC2 entity has to assume certain role, due to which he or she that entity can access S3. Okay, so I have kept two examples to make you understand this. Okay, so let's revise. So user, it's like your actual human user. Okay, group, again, an IAM group is collection of IAM users. So what benefit you get by creating a user is, now you don't have to give individual permissions to each and every user. Rather, you can add all those users to a group, and then whatever policies you want to apply, you can apply it on the group. And third is role. So role is something which you assume. Okay, so as I have written, an IAM role is intended to be assumed by someone or something. So someone can be human user. Okay, so a user in a dev account can access something which has been created in a production account. Okay, so for that I need to give a role to a user. Or, but what do we mean by something? Then something can be your services which are there in AWS. For example, an EC2 instance wants to access S3 which is there in a different account. Okay, yeah. So an IAM role is temporarily assumed, thus has no permanent credentials associated with it. So you'll see with a user, you have like, there are, as I told you in our previous session, like, okay, you can access AWS services by creating an IAM user, and there are various ways you can have a credentials for IAM user. One is simple username and password. So using username and password, you are able to access management console. But if you don't want to access management console and you know programs and you want to programmatically access AWS services, then for that you need to create an access key and ID. Okay, yeah. Okay, so AWS will automatically generate temporary access key for any person or entity that assumes a role. these temporary credentials will be valid for a specified period of time and will have all permissions assigned to the role. Okay. Yep. We'll move to the next session. So again, to elaborate more on the role, because it's a role is kind of abstract concept. You cannot directly associate it with a human or a group. So I have kept two examples to make you understand. So first is same, you have a user facing web application, which is running on EC2 instance. Okay. Now your application will save and display image for Amazon S3 and thus will need a proper IAM permission to interact with your S3 resource. Okay. Now, for example, if for doing this, like, okay, from EC2, I want to access Amazon S3. If I would have gone with a simple approach, which is like I would have created a IAM user. So in that case, what we had to do is like, if we have a single instance, okay, we know the username and we know the password, and your EC2 instance knows how to connect. Okay. But what if we are going for auto scaling? Okay, like if you're automatically creating and destroying EC2 instance as your application is scaling up or down, in that case, first the user which you have created, for that you have to ensure that you have stored credentials at a secure place, so that whenever a new instance is launched, that new instance knows, okay, from where to fetch those credentials. Okay. And then there would be a lot of manual intervention, because you might want to rotate your key for your security purposes. Then again you have to create a new credential, and then you have to store it to a safe location, and then you have to specify somewhere that, okay, whenever a new instance is created, now if this instance wants to create something from S3 which is there in another account, what all step one has to do. But if I go with IAM role, you don't have to worry about the rotations, key rotations. You don't have to worry, okay, where I need to store my credentials, because as I mentioned in my previous slides, with respect to IAM role, your credentials, whatever are created, they are temporary in nature. Okay. And since they are temporary in nature, they get auto rotated. Okay. So I'm just reading it out again so that everybody understand. So you have a user facing web application that is running on EC2 instance. Your application will save and display images from Amazon S3 and thus will need the proper IAM permissions to interact with your S3 resources. Okay, this you all follow, right? Like in AWS, whatever you want to do, for that permissions are required. Now without IAM role, okay, if I was not aware about something, what is IAM role, what I would have done, you would have created a IAM user and then you would have generated an access key pair. Okay, because you want to programmatically access your S3 from EC2. Okay, then you would need to make sure the access key pair is available to your web application on the EC2 instance. If you're automatically creating and destroying your EC2 instance as your application scales up and down, so why we want to scale up and scale down automatically, this also we talked about, like this is advantage of AWS, that now you don't have to think about the capacity planning, and you don't have to consider how many transactions you are going to get. Okay, all these things would be taken care by AWS. So you'll need to determine a secure way to store your credentials that your new instance can access on boot. Finally, you'll need to manage the rotation of those access key without causing downtime to your users. Okay. So with IAM role, this process is much easier. You can associate your EC2 instance with an IAM role upon creation. So when I'll show you how to create an EC2 instance, there would be a step wherein you would be asked to associate a role. So for this particular situation, what you can do is you can assign a role. Okay. Now your EC2 instance will have access to temporary access credential for making requests to AWS services. These credentials will have the permission given to the IAM role you delegated to the EC2 instance. You no longer need to worry about access key management or key rotation on your instance. It's all automatic. Okay. Yeah. So I know this is a little complex, so I'll repeat again. So what we are trying to say is, with how can I access one services from another, like, okay, EC2 and there is another service which is S3. We know that in Amazon, to access anything you need a permission. So even if one service wants to access another service, there has to be some permissions. Okay, so here we are going with the IAM role. Okay, so this IAM role would come in picture whenever we are going ahead and creating or destroying any new instance, or if we are doing any actions on EC2 which requires us to access S3. Okay, not all the time you require to access S3 in your application. So whenever you will be required to perform these actions, your IAM role would create those temporary credentials for you, and you will be able to connect easily to S3. Okay. Oh, sorry. Here I've given another example. Okay. So which I have been talking a lot. So there is again like where all you use IAM role. One which I told you. There are only two scenarios which you can where you have to use roles. One is the example which I gave you, like from one service you want to access another service, and second is like you've got a you have a organization type of a account, AWS account, and there you have created a dev account or a staging account or a production account. So from if you want to access certain resources from account A, from I'm sorry, if you want to access resources from account A to account B, then you can use IAM role again. So how does IAM role work? You can understand from this picture. So this is the account. For example, this is my dev account. It has got certain account ID. Okay. So in IAM role, we talk about two things. One is like, this is my trusted account. Okay. So the trusted account is the one which is trying to access something from another account. So this is my trustee account. So now what I have created all the roles. So whenever anything from the dev account or any user want to access any resources from a product account, there would be a request sent to this product account. Okay. So once the connection is made, your IAM role would generate temporary credentials by which you'll be able to access the resources. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we've covered the identity part, which is like user group role, and we understood two examples like where the roles comes into a picture. Okay, so role is, as I told you, role is something which is like abstract. You don't assign a role to a user or a group. It's something which a user assumes while performing certain actions. Okay, now let's talk about IAM infrastructure elements. So what are the key things in IAM? Okay, so first is principal. Okay. So who is principal in IAM? So principal is the doer. So who are doer? The identity. It could be your user, it could be your role, your federated user, or your application. So these elements in IAM are called as principal. In short, the person or the entity which is requesting for certain resource. So that entity is your principal. Okay. Now what does principal does? It sends certain request. Okay. Request for what? Request for certain actions which this user or entity wants to perform. So between these two comes authentication. So if I've not created Brajesh account in my AWS, he, even if he requests for certain permissions, okay, he won't be able to access those requests. Okay, so you have a principal is your doer would request for certain resource. So how would you ensure that it is a valid user? For that authentication comes in picture. And how do you authenticate? There are various ways to authenticate. First is by using the username and password of that user, or second by using the access key and secret ID. Okay, now once this is done, now IAM gets to know, or AWS gets to know, oh yes, this is a valid user, this is my IAM user. Okay, now I have to see the resources which this user or entity is asking me to access. uh, for that, whether I have given permission to him or her or not. So for example, to Brajesh, I gave a permission to access only EC3, sorry, EC2, but he is trying to access S3. Okay, so for that, authorization comes in picture. Okay, so now authorization, basically what happens in authorization, AWS or your IAM service, it checks for the policies which is associated with this user. Have I added or given Brajesh permission to access the resource which he is asking? If yes, if he or has the permissions, now he can go ahead and perform the actions, whatever he wanted. For example, he wanted to create a EC2 instance, or he wanted to create a S3 bucket. So since I can see from his policies, which is associated with his user, that he has got all the required permissions, he can go ahead and perform that action. And where do you perform those actions? You perform the actions on the resources. Okay. I'll pause for a minute and to see if anybody has any questions. Guys, any question? If you want me to repeat, I can. I know it's little difficult topic for a first time. Okay. Should I proceed? I see chat. Okay. Okay, Mati is complete. So Mati, do you want me to repeat it once for you, or you are able to make a link? I'll repeat again in our next session. But for now, okay. You want me to repeat? Yes, summary. Okay. Okay. So I'll for, yeah. Okay. So I'll just reiterate whatever we have learned, because I don't want to rush. Okay. So we are talking about one of the service of AWS, which is IAM, which is Identity and Access Management. So I've broken this into two parts. One is identity and another is access management. Now, when we come to identity, there are what all can be your identity. It could be a user, which is your actual human user. Second is your group. What is group? It's basically a collection of IAM user. And then there is a third concept, which is a role. So role is, for now you understand, you don't assign a role to a user already, and then you get some credentials by which, okay, you go to AWS console, and if you add those credentials, you'll be able to see whatever was assigned in the role. Okay, so role is something which you assume, which a person assumes, or so by person would be a IAM user. So an IAM user would assume, or an entity would assume, okay, for some temporary access. Okay, and I gave you, like, when does role comes into picture. There are two scenarios when you can think about your roles. One is like when from one service you want to access another service. Okay, so for that you don't have to create a user, you can simply create a role and assign that role to EC2 instance. Okay, and second example where role comes in picture, when you want to do anything cross account. Okay, like from account A you want to access anything from account B, then comes the picture of IAM role. Okay, I'll give you a demo also for saying. And then I gave you like what are the components in your IAM, like, okay, how does this works, like, okay, how ones get access to perform anything in an account. So we talked about principal. So principal is the person or entity who wants to do something in your AWS account. Okay, whether he wants to access your EC2 instance, or he wants to create a EC2 instance, or want to delete your EC2 instance. So the principal is the doer who is requesting for certain action. Okay, then how do you ensure, like in normal application also, you have to first authenticate that it's a valid user. Okay, so you'll add username and password, and by that AWS authenticates, okay, this is a valid user. Now I have authenticated, okay, this is my valid user, credentials are correct. Now what person or entity is asking to access, whether that person or entity has the permissions or not. Okay, so for that authorization comes in picture. And how do we get to know whether a person is authorized to access those resources? It's with respect to policies. Okay, and policies are like your identity based policies, like which you apply onto the user group role, etc. That is your identity based policy. And then there are your resource based policies, which are like which you apply on your resources. Okay, so you created a resource, now you want to tell whether what actions can be performed on your resource. That is your resource based policies. Then these two are like simple. You a doer has requested for a certain action. Okay, once it has been validated that the user has the permission, now he or she or the entity can go ahead and perform those action on the resources. Okay, yeah. So again, whatever I told you in that diagram, I have given an overview here also. I'll repeat it. So what do we mean by principal? It's an entity that can take an action on AWS resource. Uh, Now, just for your fun fact, so once you create your root user, I'm sure everybody would have created the root user. So using that root user, the first IAM user which you create, which has the admin access, that's your first principle. Okay. You can allow user and services to assume roles. So this I told you already, that if one service wants to access another service, how that can be done using a role. Or if user of one account wants to access something from another account, how you can take that using a role. Okay. IAM supports federated user. For now, understand your federated user as your external identity, which wants to access your AWS resources. Okay. IAM supports programmatic access to allow an application to access your AWS account. So what we programmatic access here, using your access key and secret ID. Okay. So request is like sends a request. How can you send a request? You can send request via console or command line interface or APIs or SDKs. Okay. Uh, Now actions that the principal wants to perform. So request in short is the action that the principal wants to perform. Resources upon which the actions are performed. Principal information including the environment from which request was made. So this would come in picture when we are talking about cross account access. Authentication, again, as I told you, this is to ensure that okay, the username and password which user is adding, or the access key and the secret key which is being added programmatically, that is a valid credential. Okay. Authorization. So how do we ensure authorization? We see the policies and we'll see, okay, the principal who is accessing for the request, whether he or she or the entity has been given those permissions or not. Okay. And then okay, so there's this concept of explicit allow, explicit deny, and implicit allow, implicit deny. So for example, I created a user, I gave him certain permission using some policy, custom policy which I had created, plus that user is part of certain group also. Okay. Now in the person has got two permissions now. So first permission says that he or she is allowed to access S3. Okay. And but the second permission says we are explicitly denying the user to access your EC2 instance or S3 bucket. So which would be given preference? Your explicit deny. So the power of explicit deny is always greater than your explicit allow or implicit allow. Okay. And which is the user which has all the permissions? It's your root user. And what do we mean by root user? It's the account by which you logged into your AWS for the first time, wherein you had to give your credit card details, debit card detail, etc. Okay. Actions, as the name suggests, it's like what you want to perform, whether you want to view something with respect to services, or you want to create something, or you want to edit or delete. Okay. Resources could be your EC2 instance, S3 bucket, IAM user. So all these could be your resources, which by IAM you can access. Okay. So let's move towards policies. Like how do you create? I see something. Okay. So guys, I'll again take a pause to see if anybody has questions. Okay. I'll move. Then I don't see any questions. Okay. Guys, don't shy away if you have any questions. The idea of the series is to ensure that you follow what is being taught. So if you want, I am always ready to repeat. Okay. Okay, now let's move to the policies which we have been talking. So where does policy fits into IAM? That's the access management part. Okay. Now, how do you write your policies? So one is like you can create a JSON document. I'll show you to you in the console, like how your policies look like. Okay. And then, as I told you, all permissions are implicit denied by default. Okay. You have to explicitly go and allow. Okay. And as your AWS principle says, that always see, whenever you are giving any access, ensure you give least privileges to the user or to the entity. Okay. Should I just, yeah, so here's just one example wherein, like, okay, as I just reiterating whatever we have studied. So you have an IAM role. With role also you associate a policy, with user also you associate a policy, and with group also you associate a policy. Okay. So roles are assumed by trusted entities. So I told you, right, you have a trusted account and trustee account. Okay. Yeah. So anybody from the trusted account can assume a role and perform the actions. Okay. Similarly, you've got a group. A group is not an identity and cannot be identified as a principal in IAM policy. So whatever you do it to a user. Okay. Policies are document in a short. So policies are document that define permission and can be applied to user group and roles. It is written in JSON format. All permissions are implicitly denied by default. With multiple policies, the most restrictive policy is applied. So what does this sentence means? The one which I was talking, you have got implicit allow, and explicit deny. So explicit deny is always the most restrictive one. So how all this would help you as a test is like, if you've got any application which is hosted on AWS. Okay. And then you've got credentials to one of the AWS account, and you're trying to access certain thing, and you see a error, okay, that you don't have a permission. So then you can get to know, oh, the user which has been created, it is associated to certain group which is not having these accesses. Okay. Maybe for freshers they have created a different group, and that group has got certain different policies. But for an experienced person in the group, you've got different policies. So if by mistake also, if user from one group tries to access something from the application, he or she would be denied or would be given certain information. Okay. Yeah. Now there are three types of policies, as I told you in our introduction. So the first one is managed policy. So this is something which is managed by AWS. Okay. And you cannot edit it. Okay. Second is your customer managed policy. It's like the policies which you want to create. That's your customer managed policy. And how can you, if you know JSON, you can create it from scratch. Or if you know that there is already existing managed policy, which has your 80% of access and permissions, and there are certain things you want to add on, you can simply copy those template and add your permissions. Okay. And third is your inline policies. So an inline policy is an IAM policy which is actually embedded within the user group or role to which it applies. So for now, understand inline policies is something which you have directly associated it with the user. Okay. And there is strict one-to-one relationship between entity and the policy. Inline policies are useful when you want to be sure that the permission in a policy are not inadvertently assigned to any other user group or role than the one for which they are intended. For example, you want to delete something, right? You want to give permission to a user to delete something, and you want to ensure that, okay, only FAS should have that permission. Okay. So in that case, you assign a inline policy. Okay, so we'll move towards demo. First, I'll give you walkthrough of all these user group policies. Okay, and then we'll understand. Okay, I'll take example of two accounts. Okay, so there are two users, Jyoti and Mayank. If suppose I've created a user in Mayank's account, and that those user wants to access anything which is there in Jyoti's account. So what all you need to do to ensure that using IAM. Okay. Yeah, we have lots of time. Okay. And also, so this is the site from which I was studying all these things. So I'll add it for you all. So somebody was asking for the PPT. So most of the content in this PPT is from this site. You can go ahead and read. Now you'll be able to follow more. Okay. Okay. So let me show it to you. So have you all created account? As I had given the previous webinar. Okay, Madhi has created. Guys, if you won't do the assignment, it would be difficult for you to follow. So as you can see, the topics would get little complex. Okay. So this is my account. Let me just sign out and start from scratch. Okay. So I'm logging from an IAM user. Okay. So this is my first principle as we talked in the session. So this was my first user which I created after creating my root user. Okay. Okay. Now, as we studied in our webinar too, like how can you access services? One is through this. I can directly click on IAM or I can search from here. So let's search from here. So this is my IAM service. Okay. Now you know the full form of IAM, identity and access management. Okay. So we talked about user, right? So this is your user. Let's create one user just to see how users are created and what all options we get. So let's say user one. And as we had learned in our previous session, at a time, how many users we can create? 10. So if I want, I can create 10 users together. Okay. So this is like how you can add multiple users. And total user which an AWS account can have is 5,000. Okay. Now what permission I want to give to this user? One is programmatic access. So if I'll give this user programmatic access, then how would that person be authenticated? You need to add access key and secret access key to get yourself authenticated. But if I give you AWS management console access, then you need to give your username and password. Okay. So for now, let me give PTC. Okay. Uh, do I want user to create a new password once he or she logs in? If I say yes, so you will see with this user a default policy get is associated, which would be to change password. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, password does EPC. In fact, there is a way by which you can also specify like what kind of a password a user can enter. Like here, I'm giving you a permission to reset your password, right? So I can specify those, what do you say, logics which a user has to ensure while creating the password. Like, okay, there should be uppercase or a lowercase, or there should be a special character. So what are the things a user has to keep in mind while creating a password? Even that can be done. Okay. So you see this line, users automatically get the IAM user change password policy. Now you understand, right? Whatever action you want to perform, for that there would be a policy associated. Okay, you cannot simply create an user and you can start anything. For that, your user or the group in which you belong should have a policy associated. Okay, So if I'll uncheck this, user won't have this policy. So if the user is not having a policy to change a password, so once he or she would try to log in, he or she would be able to log in through this password. Okay, so hence I have to share username and password to the user. Okay, so just to show you about, this is your managed policy, which I didn't create. Okay, which is already available for me from AWS. Okay, it's permission. Okay, now here you see there are three things. Okay, you can add user to a group. Okay, or you can copy permissions from existing group. For example, I already have created a user named as Mahati, and I had given her same privileges or via policy which I want to give it to this user one, so I can copy it from here. Okay, so these are my users. Okay, so let me okay, I'll come to it later. Okay, and then attach existing policies directly. Okay, so what are these policies? These are your managed policies, so you can add more policies from here. So if I can give the administrative access, so there, this is one way to associate policy to a user. Second way which I taught you was create a group, and in that group associate all the policies, okay, which you want a user from this group to have. And once you've created a group, now associate those users. Okay, it's that will okay, so here from you can see what is the name of the user which I have created. It's user one. Okay, access type, so policies are associated with your accesses. So AWS management console access with a password. Okay, console password type custom is like which I have created, you can generate also. Okay, then required password reset, yes, user requires a password reset, that's why this user has IAM user change password policy associated with it. Okay, permission boundaries, this even I have to learn. Okay, while preparing for this session I came across this term, so I'll talk to you once I learn about this permission. Okay, now create. Okay, there's this option of download CSV. This is useful like when you have auto generated your password, or suppose you've created 10 users, now you want to share the details with all those 10 users, so you can just write an email and send the CSV. Okay, so let me just show you what all you see in this. Yeah, so you see a user one, like the name of the user. Why you're seeing password? Because it's not something which was auto generated, it's something which I have created. Okay, access key and secret key, this comes into picture when you have given a user a programmatic access and the console link by which the user can log in. Okay, so now if this user wants to log in, what he or she can do is copy this. Okay, one more thing I would wanted to tell you. Oh, can't see the CSV. Maybe I have to share my entire screen. Okay, is that it's simple CSV with column name as username, name of the user, then the password, access key, secret key, and a link by which this user can log in. Okay, let me just share entire thing for you. Yeah, now I hope you are able to see the CSV. So these are details which you see in the CSV file. Okay. Okay. So now if this user, I hope I remember the password, but okay, let's see now. Log out of this account. So I just hope I remember the password. TTC. Yeah. So why you're getting this screen? Because user had a policy to change his or her password. Okay. So let me add my old password, which was TTC Jyoti @123. New password would be TTC Jyoti @1234. Okay. Okay, this is my user one. Now if I'll go to IAM, yeah. So why this user is also able to see all the details? Because I've given him the administrative access. Okay. If I would have given him specific access, or say for example, the user can access only S3, then he or she won't have been able to see all these details. Okay. And now since it's a administrative user, we'll move to another example. So one way to associate policy was create a user and directly associate a policy. Second is you can create a group. So let's create a group. Okay. So let me create AWS series. Okay. This is my group. See, the new group which you have created, which you are going to create, you can associate user directly from here, or there is other way also. Okay, and now attach permission policies. Okay, so now whatever permission I want, I can directly associate it with this group. Okay, I can do it through this wizard also, or once I've created a group, after that also if I want to go ahead and edit the permissions or add users, I can do that. So for now, let me just give this user EC2 read only access. Yeah, yeah, this is the group. Are there any users? No. Okay, now I can go here. There are no users associated, so I can associate a user. For example, let me associate this user Shalini. Permissions. So the one permission which this user has is Amazon EC2 read only access. I can, if I want, I can delete this, or I can um, add more permissions. And then I was talking about inline permissions. Okay, so how do you create an inline permission? From here. Okay, so you can attach a policy, or you can create a inline policy. So just for example, let me create a policy, an inline policy. Okay, so for example, I'll create STS. So this is the service. So I was telling you, right, when you assume a role, temporary access key and secret key is generated. So how that is generated? Using this service, which is the STS. Okay. And what are you doing to this group? You're saying assume role. Okay. So whatever user I associate with this group, now that user has got a permission or has gotten access to assume a role. So what would happen if this person would assume a role? So using that, this user can access any other account, okay, or any other service. Okay. So it's not just this, one has to go ahead and perform more actions in that trusted account and trusty account which I was talking about. So will take that example later. Okay. Any resource. So you're saying, okay, so there are so many resources in this particular account. Okay, can the users, like suppose I've created 10 users. Okay, now I'm creating a role which is associated to a group. So do I want that all the users can assume a role and see everything from the account, or you want to tell that okay, not all the users can see everything in the account, so you can give that kind of a restriction as well. Okay, so for now I'm saying all. Okay, for now I'm saying all. So here, okay, you can review and you can name the policy. So I've given a inline policy which I have created, and this is just for this particular group. So any users in this group would have access to this inline policy. Okay, and just for knowledge, just remember about this ARN number, which is like Amazon resource number. So any resource which you create in AWS, it gets a number to it. So it's something like you get an account ID and the entity. So AWS series, this is like your group. You'll get group slash this, user slash this. Okay, so any resource you'll create has a ARN number. Okay, so we are left with just 7 minutes, and I had an example to share on cross account. So probably I can cover that example in our next session. Meanwhile, you all can practice and go through whatever we have read today. Okay. So like in another next session, first I'll give you the demo of this cross account access, and then we'll move over to our S3 bucket topic. Okay, and as I told you that every PPT would have certain best practices which AWS suggests us with respect to any resources. So here are these best practices for IAM, like what are the things you need to take care of. Okay, yeah, so first thing which you need to create is lock away your AWS account root user access. Okay, uh, this means you don't have to share this with anyone, and even if you want to perform any administrative things, just create a account IAM user. Okay, with same administrative access which was there in the root user. Okay, create individual IAM users. Okay, now on this I would like to say, okay, for example, your account is already maintaining the list of users, like okay, you've got a active directory wherein name of all of you are being uh, mentioned there. Okay, so now I don't have to go ahead and create same number of users, IAM users again in the AWS. I can form certain kind of a correlationship, or I can inform AWS, okay, that if you get any user with this domain, for example, dot HP, okay, or dot TTC, okay, those are my valid users. Okay, and you can give them the permissions which I had already created. Okay, so this I'll talk in our next session, like how you can ensure that okay, if there is an already an active directory which has list of all the users, 10-15 users. Now with those 10-15 users, I want to access my AWS account. So do I need to create again those users in AWS account, or is there any way by which AWS would trust that okay, these users are my authentic users? Okay, use groups to assign permission to IAM user, which I told you, like it would, if you happen to create 5,000 users, okay, and if you go ahead and associate permission to each users individually, it would be very cumbersome. So what you can do is you can create a group of users, and whatever permission you wanted to give it to the user, you can give it to the group and associate that user to the group. Grant least privileges. This I've been talking from my first session itself, that uh, AWS suggests that always go for least privileges. Okay, get started using permission with AWS managed policies. Yeah, for a beginner, always go ahead with the managed policies. Understand how the managed policies are written before going for creating your custom policies or your inline policies. Use customer managed policies instead of inline policies. This is recommended. Use access level to review IAM permission. Okay, And yeah, configure a strong password policy for your users. So as I was telling you, you can also configure like, okay, you've given user to reset his or her password. So now you want to ensure that, see, there are so many things in your AWS account. You don't want that because of weak password, anybody can access your resources which are there in the AWS. Okay, enable MFA, which is, it's like multi-factor authentication. So what do we mean by this? Okay, so I told you like how do you get authenticated? You get authenticated if you are logging to management console. It's using your user ID and password. But if you want to add another layer of security, then you can enable MFA, which is multi-factor authentication. So there are like three ways by which you can associate MFA. One is like you can have a virtual device, something like Okta Verify. So or Google Authenticator. So wherein once you log into your account, some PIN would be generated. Okay. So when user would add that PIN, then only he or she can go ahead and access AWS. Okay. Use roles for application that run on a Amazon EC2 instance, oh, which I was telling you. Okay, you have got a application which is running on EC2 instance, and then there is a lot of communication between various services. Okay, so for that, what you can do is you can have a role. Okay, do not share your access key, rotate credentials regularly, monitor activity in your AWS account. Okay, you've done everything, but still you want to ensure security. So you have to monitor your account. So how can you see your accounts activity using a service which is known as AWS Cloud Trail? So when you will come to that service, I'll talk to you about that. Okay, let me just show you MFA, and let me, what else I can show you, which are strong password policy. Okay, let's show you from where these things are done. These privileges, AWS organization, same, the best practices which I was telling you, it's listed here as well. Okay, so I see this message, but why don't I see a link? Maybe it's not my root account. Okay, since it's not my root account, maybe because of that I'm not able to see. But for you, you can, with your root user, you go to the dashboard, and here this would come as a link. So when you click on this enable MFA, you'll get three options like your virtual device, or UF key, or there was one more you have your own application which can create those uh, second level of authentication. So you can enable that. So now going forward, if you create any user and you have enabled MFA, so the person has to add his or her username password followed by the key which gets generated in this Google Authenticator or whatever authenticator you have used. Okay, and for password policy also, I'm sure there would be something here. I had seen it somewhere wherein I could manage what password a user can for account settings. Sorry guys, I don't know where it is. I'll show it to you in the next session. But I saw somewhere wherein you could set the strength of the password and all. Okay. And yeah, one more thing. Like, okay, for example, with a root user, I created a 10 IAM user. So the consolidated bill could can be seen by that root user in his account, and the root, you have to do the payment via the root user. So the individual account, they don't do the payment. The root user through which this was created, all these IAM user were created, and IAM user created whatever instance. So all those would be seen in the root account. Okay. So that's it from me. Any questions, guys? From where you can read more, Nati? The documentation. AWS has a great documentation, so you can uh, study from there. So I follow that, the documentation which AW has given. They have got a lot of diagrams and all those stuff. Plus, randomly I search on Google, and based on, I see the content, and if seems good, I follow those. Like the one which I shared today, I really like the way they had summarized all these IAM related stuff. So after this session, now if you'll go and read it, you'll be able to follow. I'm sure quite of things. Oh, a link. Okay, let me reshare. Okay. Vinod is asked any questions, guys? So is it all clear or nothing clear? Okay, thank you. Yeah. Previous session videos, please. Okay, it would be there in the TTC YouTube channel. So you can search with AWS Primer. So I've given 2 webinars till now, so you can follow from there.
Ijaz, if you could go to TTC YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, you will find the previous episodes of this series, and this video will also get recorded and get uploaded there probably by later today or tomorrow early morning. So you should have it by that time. Any other questions? Well, you asked a question, Jyoti, if we understood everything or didn't understand anything. For me, this was this was because you know, it's easy to follow along if you are do this. Maybe I have a suggestion which probably you can incorporate. If it's possible, then from the next episode onwards, if you can incorporate some sort of a follow along process where people can also, you know, alongside their learning can do it, can practice it by themselves, number one.
Okay.
And number two is if you could give people some homework.
Okay.
You know,
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
know what I mean? Because that allows the
Yeah.
opportunity for people to practice and come back with questions. That's why.
Mhm.
I mean, no hard and fast rule, not like a school, but you know, something to practice. You know what I mean.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. Probably I'll start having quizzes.
Yeah,
So that
that would be good.
in,
That would be
yeah,
good.
I'll have a quiz wherein I'll ask whatever we have studied. And for practice, I would suggest like the way I was doing it today. Like, okay, I went ahead and created a whatever I did today. If one goes ahead and practice, in fact, that much, goes through a webinar once again, and then on his own, he or she can go and read stuff about it. Now, the person would be able to follow the link. I know, like, when I read also anything for the first time, and even if I follow a great tutorial, I don't get things in one go. It's like you have to go through it again and again, and then you have to do a hands-on. So you
Yeah.
follow stuff. So yeah, yeah.
Yep, it is. It does not come in one go. I mean, at times. So obviously, you need to read it again and again. Anyways, thank you so much, Jyoti, for this delightful session again. We will catch you again next week with another chapter. And you know, like I said, this episode will be uploaded somewhere later today or by early morning tomorrow. Yeah, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Yeah, thank you, Brijesh. Okay, guys. If you have any question, you can reach out to me. I want you all to
Of course,
practice and
and
come.
you know,
Yes.
you could reach out to Jyoti via Telegram, via LinkedIn. I don't know if Jyoti is there on Twitter, but you could also reach out to Jyoti via the comment section of the videos which have been uploaded previously. Okay, so there are multiple channels. Please do reach out if you have questions.
Okay.
Thank you,
Okay,
Jyoti.
guys.
Thank you,
Have a
everyone.
great week. Okay, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.